Hi Year 7, this is Mr. Tapley here for your first lesson of Year 7 History in Term 3, 2020. So what I'll be doing this lesson is going through the lesson plan, obviously, the learning intention success criteria. I'll be talking about what we'll be doing in Year 7 History in Term 3, talk a bit about remote learning, what we can do a bit better this time, what I can do better this time, and we'll just outline the main topics covered in the history curriculum in Term 3. So understanding why do we study history, what is history, and what are we going to study in Term 3. Before I talk about history, I should probably talk about remote learning. I don't think any of us thought we'd be back in remote learning. I'm sure some of you are happy with this, some of you are not happy about it. That's fine. What I will say is that a lot of you, a number of students, really did well during remote learning. You guys really excelled, having that extra, I guess, independence or freedom or flexibility in this digital classroom, and you achieved really high results with a strong work ethic and engagement in class. And what that means is watching all the video lectures. It means adding notes to your digital notebook every day, adding lesson activities, etc., staying up to date. Those students did really well in the assessments, and that's because they did really well during remote learning. However, there's going to be a few students who will be looking to improve upon their results in economics. So in Term 2, a few students fell off the pace, I suppose, in remote learning. You know, at first they were really trying, and then they kind of fell away. They got tired of it, they got sick of it, they fell behind because they weren't paying attention in class, or for whatever reason. And that's fine. It's a clean slate, it's a new topic. It's a good thing about humanities. History isn't related to economics. So if you didn't enjoy economics or you found it really difficult, this is a new topic, new term, and you can start fresh, and you can just improve upon what you did last term. So as I get into what history is and why it's important to learn about history, one of the most important things to learn in history is to not repeat mistakes. So those of you who struggled in remote learning in Term 2, I'm hoping that you guys will be staying up to date with classwork, watch the video lectures, and then the biggest thing I will say to you guys, and I say it every year to every class I have, every student I have, if we have parent-teacher interviews, it's going to be the first thing I say to all of your parents: ask questions. I can't help you, I can't solve a problem unless you tell me there is a problem. If you don't understand a question or a topic, or if you need extra help, you say, Mr. Tapley, can you re-explain this differently? Or can you send me a video that kind of explains this better? Or I need a bit of extra time because I've got a maths cat next week. That's fine. You just have to let me know. Think about it. If there was a fire, you're not going to just kind of sit there and wait for the fire department to show up. You would call the fire department. You would say, there is a problem, and they would come fix the problem. So if you need support, just let me know, and I'm more than happy to make adjustments to help you guys in Term 3. I think I'll be including a few more of those, I think I call them self-care lessons, once a week or once every 2 weeks, where you guys have an opportunity to catch up on some old topics that you might not have finished, or to just take a deep breath and relax, listen to some music, talk to your friends, etc. So I'm going to try and make sure remote learning is better this term. For those of you that enjoyed yourself last term, it's going to be more of the same. So we'll be putting lesson plans in Compass, video lectures, instead of Zoom lessons. I still think that's the best way of doing this. Google Classroom is where you'll find all the resources, the assessments, PowerPoint, textbook, etc. And all your activities are going to be recorded in a digital notebook, so a little Google document. I'll show you where that is later and what it looks like. I've made a new one for history, so again, you're starting fresh. However, I will make changes if you want me to make changes. If I can improve your experience in Year 7 Humanities, in history, in Term 3 remote learning, please let me know, and I'll use that feedback and the feedback I received in Term 2 to hopefully improve your experience this term. So any recommendations, let me know. So that's enough about remote learning. Let's talk about history. Let's talk about our topic here. My favorite topic of humanities, but that's my opinion. Hopefully I'll be able to persuade you. In Year 7 history, our focus is the ancient world. So in history, from Year 7 all the way up to Year 12, you kind of move forward each year. So in Year 7, you look at ancient history. In Year 8, you look at medieval history. So you're looking at knights and castles and samurais. Year 9, you look at World War I. And then Year 10, you look at World War II. So we're looking at the ancient world, and we'll be spending some time developing our skills and our knowledge. So historical skills are things like creating a timeline or looking at primary and secondary sources. And then we will investigate our very first topic, which is ancient Australia. So you're looking at the Indigenous Australians. The focus of this unit, though, we will be investigating one of the 3 ancient civilizations that we introduced last term. We had a little worksheet where you guys got to pick one of these 3, and the options are ancient Greece, Rome, or ancient China. We were going to investigate 2 of those 3, but because of remote learning, because we're going to be losing time with those self-care lessons and moving a bit slower for everyone, we'll probably only have time to either investigate one of these in a lot of detail, which would be my preference, or we could do 2 of them in a small amount of detail. So if you have any thoughts on that, please let me know. But at the moment, I'm probably thinking about doing one of these 3 topics for 4 weeks, I'd say. So it's going to be 1 week on skills, 2 weeks on Australia, 4 weeks on an ancient civ, and then you'll have your CAT towards the end of term 3. So some of the skills we'll be looking at: chronology, which is a hard word to say with my accent, which is basically a fancy way of saying, is it in order of when it happened? So the earliest thing that's happened versus the last thing that's happened. So moving forward in time. Source analysis, so looking at a primary or secondary source, looking at a sword from ancient Rome, or looking at a textbook from Glen Waverley Secondary College, and then telling me what that information means and why it's important. Cause and effect is a very important thing that you'll see in science. If you combine this with this, it's going to make an explosion. You'll see it in humanities and English and maths. So that's an important skill to develop, because it's not just useful in history, it's useful throughout school. Continuity and change is another thing we'll talk about later. And then these are the topics of history that we'll be looking at when we look at our ancient civilizations. So religion, looking at the ancient Greek or ancient Rome, ancient China, their religious beliefs, the gods. Warfare, trade, law and order, family life, culture, and then key events and individuals. So I've got a little link in the top right there called What is History For? So that's 4 minutes long. Feel free to watch that video there. I'll show you what that looks like. 4 minutes long. It's just a good summary of basically what I'll be talking about in these slides. So if it doesn't make sense, or you need a bit of extra information, or if you want to hear someone's voice besides Mr. Tapley's, and I don't blame you, I suggest watching this video here, because it talks about not only what is history for, but why it's important. So what is history? History is the study of the past. By examining sources from history, we can find answers to questions about our present, and then improve our future. So in history, you kind of act as a detective. You're asking questions, you're gathering evidence, you're interpreting, you're evaluating what has occurred in the past to get a better understanding of our world today. So everything around you has happened for a reason. It's happened because of cause and effect. And history is about asking those questions, finding those answers so you understand the present time. And then again, you can use what you've learned from the past to improve upon the future. So if something's done poorly in the past, don't do it again. If something's done well in the past, I can fix that up in the future. History is everything before us and can be studied by using everything around us. An ancient sword, a diary of a World War II soldier, so it can be written down, it can be a physical thing you can hold. The Great Wall of China, even a big building or a monument, that's part of history. Or something happening right now. Technically everything around you in your bedroom, in your classroom, is history. A Glen Waverley laptop is used to study history in the future. Future people will look at this laptop and they'll say, oh, what did these people do in their time? What was this used for? And they can use it to learn about us. Why study history? So why is it important? What's the purpose? What's the point of it all? Famous quote here that you'll probably hear me repeat more than once. Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Historians attempt to understand and explain how people's lives were shaped by other people and events. So again, we're going back to that cause and effect idea. If we study past mistakes, we can avoid them. If we study past successes, we can replicate them. So all the things around you, all the technology, all the buildings, those are there because of what's happened in the past. The ancient Romans came up with this cool building technology that allowed us to build these massive skyscrapers and apartment buildings outside Glen Waverley. The ancient Greeks invented mathematics and arithmetic. So you have to study maths because of the ancient Greeks. It's their fault. All the things that you will find around you, again, have come from the past. So we look for what's gone well, so we can repeat it. And we look for things that have gone poorly, so we can avoid it. Studying history helps us understand our heritage as well. It's important to understand not just what's happened out there, but who we are. So where our language came from, where our culture came from, and where our beliefs originated. Investigating the history of other civilizations will help us understand each other. So not just helping us understand ourselves, but other people, so we can get along, we can avoid conflict. Usually conflict, violence, misunderstandings, disagreements, those occur because of a lack of knowledge, because we don't understand each other. But if we study the history of each other, we can understand each other, we can avoid conflict, get along. Multiculturalism. Go back to civics and citizenship from term 1. The skills that we learn in history, why are it important to learn those skills? Well, they're going to be value in, obviously, history, but also in all elements of school and your life. History, you do a bit of research. You're going to be doing research in all your subjects at school, at university. If you leave school and you go into a trade, you're still doing research. I have a mate who is a tradie, he's an electrician, and he still goes to workshops, conferences, he still looks up information on the internet, so he researches things. Critical thinking, not just seeing a piece of information saying, okay, but seeing a piece of information saying why, saying how, asking questions. Communication, so being able to understand something and then tell someone else you understand something. Sometimes you can read it and you go, I get it, but then you try and tell someone and you're just like, the words don't work in your head, like my words. So you'll hopefully improve your communication skills this term. And then empathy, being able to empathize, being able to feel emotions, feel sorry, to put yourselves in the shoes of someone else and understand how their life would be if you were there, I suppose. So, all that information there. I do apologize for the slightly longer video than I would like. We had to talk about remote learning at the start, so we won't have to do that in future lessons. But what you're doing this lesson, pretty straightforward. Just 2 questions from chapter 1.2 in your textbook. So please complete the following activities in your digital notebook. Again, any questions about the questions, let me know. You can leave a comment in Google Classroom, or you can just email me, because I'll be at my computer during our timetabled class. I'll be at my computer all day, to be honest. So if you send me an email, I'll be able to respond to it proper quickly. So you're reading chapter 1.2, which is pages 2 to 4 in your textbook. It's called Why We Study History, and answering questions 1 to 4 in the textbook. So the questions are in the textbook. I've just copied them out on the slide just to make things easy for you guys. So question 1, I'll show you where all this is, I suppose. So you can see I've got my lesson plan here, just like we did in term 2. We've got Google Classroom set up, 7F3, 7E4, you've got the same thing. I'm not playing favorites. So you got your class sides. You'll see I've got a new student notebook, new Google Doc there. I just need to click on that. Again, you don't need to submit it every lesson. You don't need to create a new file, because Shari's opened up hers there. Year 7 Humanities. Sorry, I'm getting lost. Textbook chapters, that's what I want. So you can see I've added all the chapters that we'll be using this term. So chapter 1 is what I want. I want historical skills. And I'll open that up here, and it looks something like this. I'm going to chapter 1.2, so I'm going to go down. Why we study history. And I'm going to scroll down to the questions. Right here. Zoom in a bit. Wow, too far. And question 1 and question 4 are what we are doing. So question 1, fill in the spaces in the following passage, the following paragraph, by choosing words from the box below. So you've got 5 words there, and your task is to put them into the right order in this little passage here. So historians conduct blank. Historians are people that study history. So they conduct, they do blank into past blank, blank, and societies. Historians try to build up a picture of the ideas and the blank of people in the past. This is odd saying this out loud. How they lived and acted, and how their lives were shaped by blank. So try saying it out loud yourself and including those words in those different spots there, and you should be able to find the information to complete this question either in this textbook page here or in our class slides. Go back. And you can see I've just put that question into the Google Slides presentation there as well, so you don't have to keep going back and forth between your textbook and the slides and blah, 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 blah. Question 4. What skills will you learn studying history? It's on the next page, unfortunately. What kind of skills will you learn by studying history? Pretty straightforward one there. Again, you learn some knowledge about key topics, but then you learn some skills, some actions, some things that you can do, not just in history, but in other subjects. So write that down there. That's all you have to do this lesson, guys. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. Otherwise, yeah, best of luck.